was that another pretty phenomenal episode of Star Trek Picard, ladies and gentlemen? I think it might have been. Now, I saw a handful of people trying to criticize my boy Terry after that last episode, criticizing, of course, it's a time travel episode. People are going to be looking in, seeing what's going on there, you know, seeing the discrepancies. Of course, there is no discrepancies because this is a completely contaminated timeline, okay? It's kind of like a paradoxical contaminated timeline because A has not happened, B is still, you know, going to happen, yada yada yada. Just know that any discrepancies that happen in this timeline in this season of Star Trek Picard doesn't matter. It's a totally contaminated timeline because the Confederation is going to happen later because of this convergence in time. All of the events are inevitably have already happened. This timeline is liable to be completely different than the one we all know and love. However, it is the one we all know and love. It's just extremely contaminated. But yes, Terry Matalas has given us another beautiful episode in the form of Star Trek Picard Season 2 Episode 5. This one titled Fly Me to the Moon, and to be honest, you know, I was kind of paying attention to that episode. There was really no other direct significant link to that title besides the fact that they played the Fly Me to the Moon by Frank Sinatra and a little jazz tune at the end of this episode where there was this banquet. But anyways, this episode was freaking amazing, okay? We're just gonna get right into it. Terry Matalas giving huge TOS love in the form of an amazing TOS reference. The Watchers have an explanation, and honestly, didn't even really need that explanation. At the beginning of the episode, when this Laris person, who is actually not Laris at all, they have a different name. I think it's like Talene or something along those lines. Their name was only referenced once in the entire episode. Talene escorted Picard into her lair. I just instantly saw her apartment, her lair, and then I saw them go through the mystical time safe door, and I was like, okay, this is definitely an Assignment Earth reference, okay? It was amazing. Oh my gosh. It was explained in this episode that the Laris clone is basically named Talene, and that she is similar to Gary 7, you know, that one time-traveling agent that was sent by higher beings in that one TOS episode, Assignment Earth. One of my favorite episodes of Star Trek ever. Something that's pretty cool about the episode, and something that's common knowledge to Trekkies at this point, is that Star Trek was dangerously close to being canceled, and that episode, Assignment Earth, with Gary 7, you know, and all of his gadgets and his little black cat, that was actually supposed to be kind of a pilot tie-in to a potential spin-off show in case Star Trek were to get canceled. And it's just one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek ever. It's a really good one, and it's so cool to see Star Trek Picard showing them love in the form of the Watchers, basically, you know, just secret agents that are sent by higher beings that will probably never be explained, who are sent to do integral missions that are supposed to keep, I assume, the greater overall universe in the timeline safe. Talene, I'm just going to refer to her as Taurus, because I don't remember her original name. We're going to combine Talene and Laris put together. We're going to call her Taurus. Taurus is explaining to Picard that she is watching, actually, a member of the Picard ancestry, somebody known as Renée Picard, and Picard explains to her that, you know, that's quite the coincidence that you're here watching one of my ancestors. This is probably the convergence in time that I was sent to investigate. Upon some further investigation and some footage shown by the Watcher, who I'm now calling Taurus, we see that the ancestor that lives in this current time period is Renée Picard, an astronaut, somebody who's supposed to be going on a mission, except that she is being steered in this direction of anxiety, of depression, of self-doubt, and it's starting to look like she is either going to fail the mission or she's just going to outright quit and not do the mission at all. And here I am thinking, is it a little bit fishy how Picard kind of has this astronaut in his family tree that he's never mentioned before? Later in the episode, they mention about how, like, all the history, like 100 years before the meeting with the Vulcans, is extremely muddied and it's just not very clear, and he barely knows anything about Renée Picard. He knows that she was an astronaut. I just would have thought that maybe somewhere in the Star Trek canon, Picard would have given the opportunity to be like, oh, you know, I had an astronaut in my family. He has mentioned about how the Picard Picard line has historically had explorers in it, but I guess compared to being the captain of the flagship, the goddamn entire United Federation of Planets, just having an astronaut in your bloodline is kind of trivial. But yeah, basically it's found out that Renée Picard is being influenced by Q. Q actually popped up and is Renée Picard's therapist and is telling her, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't go through with Solange, Renée Picard. Playing this, silly role as a therapist in this episode. Thought that Q was kind of just going to be on the back ends, kind of guiding Picard like he usually does this season, but he's directly influencing what's going on here. He said that he was a suture in the wound of this broken timeline, but at the same time, it almost seems like he has some kind of conniving direct influence for the way things are in this episode. Because remember how I was talking at the beginning of the review about how some people were complaining about how in the time travel episode, last episode, there was, not very much mention at all about World War III or just like genetic engineering at all. Totally a huge thing in this episode. It is a giant thing in this episode because Brent Spiner in this episode reprises his role as another Soong, this time Andrew Soong, the person who we assume is going to be responsible for the creation of genetic manipulation at this point in the timeline. He's going to be the one responsible for creating genetic engineering capable of creating super soldiers like Khan Noonien Soong, who, are going to cause World War III. Now, I looked on to the Star Trek wiki, and they said that World War III doesn't even occur for another 10 years from now, and in Assignment Earth, Kirk went back to like 1960s, 70s Earth, and it still just looked like Earth. So, in my opinion, it kind of was okay for 2024 to appear the way it did in last episode. It didn't really cause any discrepancies with me. Should Earth be totally fucked and destroyed by now? Has that been mentioned before? Is that actually a canon mistake, or does this actually all add up? But at the same time, it doesn't matter if it adds up or not, because remember, this is like a totally contaminated timeline. Just because A hasn't happened yet doesn't mean that like B isn't still unaffected, if you know what I mean. Also in this episode, Rios just gets saved by Rafi and Seven, and the only cool thing that I could really even like talk about that happened with that is that Seven does mention Rafi's son Gabe and how Rafi's also probably emotionally distraught that Gabe doesn't even technically exist right now. The Andrew Noonien Soong like B plot storyline that was going on in this episode was absolutely crazy cool. Okay, Soji is playing the part of Andrew Noonien Soong's extremely sick like Blade Runner Part 2 daughter. She cannot go outside or else she will actually crumble. She's got this genetic disease where if she goes out and, breathes in some of that nice hyper-capitalistic air, she will just crumble like a paper bag, just, reduced to ashes. And in this episode, you can see that Andrew is trying to allocate resources. He's trying to do anything in his power to save his daughter and to create a form of genetic engineering that's strong enough to change her disease. And he's presenting this to this board of scientists. Maybe it's like a board of a company. I'm not really sure. Something that is interesting to note, the people that are on the board that Andrew is talking to, the woman in the middle is actually Leah Thompson, the person who directed the last 2 episodes of this season. Also, this episode was directed by none other than your boy, Jonathan Frakes. Let's hear it for Jonathan Frakes for always giving us a decent episode of Star Trek. Andrew Noonien Soong is actually quite an awesome character. It's really cool. He's extremely, the same looking to the other Soong that we had last season. Brent Spiner didn't really decide to change or dress up or do any makeup alterations. Also, I think it's really cool is, the actress that plays Soji is basically playing his daughter, because it's like saying that a biological Soong had a daughter and it looked like Soji, and then Data, who is, like the son of a Soong, created a non-biological daughter, a artificial sentient daughter, and it turned out looking the same way. It just was kind of sweet, and it kind of gave a warm feeling inside seeing how that biological lineage has kind of come to a artificial sentient lineage of androids, and they still look the same. It's kind of cute. The board of directors kind of roasts Andrew and tells him that his work is dangerous and it could lead to dangerous things, aka World War III they're alluding to. he's like, oh, I will do anything to save my daughter. Screw you guys. I'm just gonna go home and be grumpy. But then Q comes out and he actually directly intervenes and schedules like an appointment with Soong, and it is an amazing scene for multiple reasons. For one thing, Q's performance is amazing, but also Brent Spiner's performance as this kind of aggressive 21st century genius who, you know, thinks people are stupid and doesn't take shit from anybody. It was a really good character. I really liked it from him. He got a bit aggressive. He's like, if you know my reputation, you must know that I'm willing to kill you if you know, play any games. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Q basically gave him a temporary antidote to give to his daughter. He gave it to her and she was able to experience the outside world for a little bit before having a seizure. You know, kind of evil of Q to only give her a temporary antidote, only give her a taste of freedom. But Q is using that to manipulate Andrew into doing something that he wants him to do. Something needs to be done for Q that he can't accomplish himself, because Q, as we've been learning from like this episode and last episode, is limited in his powers now, and he even says it in this episode. He's limited by things he can do, and he almost talks about this Picard woman, you know, Renée Picard, and the Picard lineage is almost like a thorn in his side. So now Picard, in assistance with, you know, the away team is now all back together, and also Taurus, they're all getting together and they are coming up with a plan to go and basically infiltrate this astronaut's ball that Renée Picard is attending, and I think they're going to try to get close to her and try to interact with her before the day of the launch in order to restore her confidence and try to undo Q's meddling. And yeah, that's basically that. And then the only other thing that really happens this episode is that Agnes murders the Borg Queen. Agnes is back to blah, 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 shooting and murdering things. Wow, Agnes the killer. Damn, do I love Agnes. I weirdly love her as a character. She just straight up shoots the Borg Queen with a shotgun this episode, the Picard shotgun from Chateau Picard, because the Borg Queen, naughty, 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 she rings in one of the French police. She apprehends him quickly, obviously. Like, she does a scan of the Frenchman, and she's like, a nicotine addiction, like all French people smoke cigarettes, which is, like, kind of true. I just love how the Borg Queen decided to roast French people in this episode. But yeah, it seems that Picard, with the assistance of Taurus, aka Laris and Talon, is using the Gary 7 technology, the Watchers technology, in order to infiltrate this astronaut's ball in order to stop Q's meddling with the timeline. Damn, this was so freaking good. This was so excellent. I really, really love this episode. I love the TOS love. I love the implementation of the Watchers again. I love how we're getting more concrete lore for them. Honestly, I would love if this wasn't the last time that these people showed up in a Star Trek medium. I love Assignment Earth. I love that Terry Matalas has implemented them yet again into another Star Trek series, because it's just such a cool thing. I love this. There should be more stuff like this in Star Trek. The mission and the whole quest to go and help Renée Picard, you know, it seems slightly interesting. It's not like so crazily overly interesting. I feel like there's a lot more for us to find out. I really doubt it's as simple and as boring as, hey, we got to make sure this girl goes up in a space flight and actually completes the space flight and then all time is saved. If that happens, I'm going to be honest, that's going to be a little bit underwhelming for how cool of a season this is. Oh my gosh, everything else that's surrounding it is just really, really, really hyping me up. This episode definitely just gets another 7.5 out of 10. Just like another solid ass score. Entertaining through and through. I really loved that episode. Something I will mention though, we finally hit 1,000 goddamn subscribers on this channel, which is like amazing. It's a dream of mine and I'm just so stoked. I'm really appreciate it. I am just gonna keep on trucking. I'm gonna keep on doing what I'm doing. Anybody who's subscribed, is commenting, watching my videos, it has decided to support me so far. I really appreciate you. I am going to get my neck tattoo, by the way. Just give me like 30 days. I need to save some money up because I'm gonna pay my sister to do it. She's a tattoo artist. And also I need to mentally prepare, and it's gonna be like a whole video that I'm gonna plan and film out. So wait for that. I am going to get my neck tattoo. I was not lying. The only way I'm going to not get the neck tattoo is if I like put it up there and it looks completely horrendous. Then I might have to bail. But that's only like a 10% chance of happening. Last thing I will say is that I was a little bit disappointed by the amount of criticism in the last episode. There was a lot of people who are just bashing the last episode, saying that it was the worst episode, and then, you know, there are just always those run-of-the-mill haters that pop up who are just saying that, oh, this is woke Trek, it's too political, I hate when they try to insert politics into Trek, it's crap, oh, the episode was shit. Kind of being almost more political than the show could ever hope to be. What is political about Gannon saying that the Earth is just being muddied, about how there's still racism in this time period in the 21st century? It's been less than 2 centuries since we have treated human beings as products, as like disposable products that we could buy, sell, and trade. Do you not think that there might be a little bit of prejudice still left in the world? I mean, I still see it in my comment section. A lot of you older people who are just commenting, acting like racism still doesn't exist, has obviously never played an online video game. Racism and prejudice still exists to this day. It is very obvious, and for Star Trek Picard to make a comment about it and how it could probably get better, I just think that for you guys to call that overtly political, or for you to call that leftist trash, I just think that, I don't know, you have a problem with tolerance. Maybe before you just overtly bash something for being too political or just being trashy, maybe you should go and watch some of the other movies coming out these days. I mean, dude, the dialogue and the writing in last episode was extremely tasteful compared to the new Batman movie I just watched, where Zoe Kravitz's Batman was just like, nah, white privileged white guys. Fuck 'em, Batman. Dude, that's some real first grader type elementary school writing and dialogue. Compared to that, last episode was pretty tasteful and it wasn't overtly political. They were just pointing out obvious shit and flaws that occur in the 21st century. If any of you guys think that that stuff doesn't exist or it just isn't a problem in today's day and age, then you're just not living in the real world and you're in some different reality. But that is all I'm going to say about that. I just have to get it off my mind. But yes, I very much enjoyed reviewing this episode of Star Trek Picard. Episode 5, Season 2, definitely getting a 7.5 out of me, and I'm definitely looking forward to reviewing more Star Trek Picard, and I'm definitely looking forward to reviewing Strange New Worlds, baby! I just saw that trailer where they just showed the engineer of the Enterprise, and he's an Anar Andorian, and he's cool as shit, baby! Let's go! It is kind of a good time to be a Star Trek fan. It would be an even better time to be a Star Trek fan if Discovery decided to take itself seriously, but hey, you know, we can't be asking for too much. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, I'd be very flattered if you were to subscribe. I have to come up with a new subscriber goal for 10,000, so if you have any ideas, leave it down in the comments below. If you have anything that you want to share with me, also leave that down in the comments below. I read every single comment. If you would like to have discourse on any of the topics that we discuss on the channel, be sure to join my Discord. The link is in the bottom of every video, and with all that being said, hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Live long and prosper.